Hey fellow tennis nerds, today we have something exciting to talk about. It's a new racket, new mold, new layup, new everything from the up and coming brand Nordicdots, which you might have seen me wear in my videos. It's not easy to create a tennis racket, but it takes about 5 minutes of hitting with this one to understand it's one of the most interesting releases in a long time. We have tested the prototype with unfinished grommets and end caps. The finished racket should be out in mid-September for sale through Nordicdots.com. I hope you enjoyed this review. Have a nice day and don't forget to play some tennis. Fellow tennis nerds, I am here with Henrik. Today we have a new racket. It's actually only on the prototype stage at the time of testing. You've seen it on my Instagram and also Henrik's. It's a racket from Nordicdots. So Nordicdots is a brand that's new in terms of tennis rackets, but they've done paddle rackets before. I worn their apparel for a while. I think they do great stuff. I really think the quality is excellent and I feel good wearing it. It's kind of more classical stuff than many of the brands now, trying lots of different colors, and it's not always so nice, and I prefer that kind of old school vibe to the tennis clothes. So completely new racket. I've tried their strings. Their strings were good. I really like those strings, but obviously making a tennis racket is something completely different and more complicated. And when I handed this to Henrik, he was struck maybe by a few things. Like, what did you think of the racket just from a visual aspect holding it?
Just by holding it, it feels like Boom had a love child with a Yonex E-Zone.
Yeah.
And it has also a very, very interesting string pattern, something I have never seen before. It's very, very open in the lower part of the string bed and extremely dense in the upper hoop, in the upper part.
So it really is like progressive in the sense that it starts very dense, and slowly as it goes down towards the throat, it opens up.
Yes.
And the idea behind that, as far as I understand, is that most players hit higher up in the sweet spot today. That's how we play tennis, with a little bit more spin, and you're hitting the ball, contacting it a bit further up from the center, and that's where you need control. So if you see most string patterns, they are very dense in the center and then they open up towards this way. This one is denser up here and opens up a bit more towards this way.
Yes.
So that's a very interesting and new take.
Yeah.
How did you think that worked in terms of playability? You know, when you started hitting balls with it.
I mean, it has a RA unstrung of 64. Strung.
64, 65, I think 65 is the official one. Yeah.
Strung, we measured at my RDC on both samples 61. RA
61,
strung.
yeah.
And it feels more crisp than that.
Yeah.
It feels like a crisp racket. Absolutely no issues whatsoever, no discomfort in the arms or shoulders. Very interesting first hit. We played the first time I played on with it indoors.
Yep.
And I got a really good effect on my shot.
Yeah, you hit a really heavy ball with this racket. It's a 300 gram, 23 millimeter, 1620 pattern in a 99 screw inch head size. So it's a racket. If I could make a racket spec, not thinking of the shape of the racket, this would be something I would design, because 99 gives you a bit more forgiveness. The thickness of the beam is more speed steam style, which we're both fans of. I think if you go too thin, there's a risk of not getting enough power. If you go too thick, the racket feels sluggish and too powerful.
Yeah.
So I think 23 is usually where the sweet spot is in beam designs, 22, 23. So on paper, excellent. But then obviously you need to play with it. And I did notice that it plays heavier than the 300 grams. So I'm not meaning that it's sluggish, but that the ball I'm getting is from you. You play like a heavy ball. Like we're testing so many different rackets, and we play with each other. Like we play with each other like every day now. And obviously you start feeling every different racket, how it changes the ball flight, how I need to deal with his shots. And that's the best way to test, because then I can comment to him. Like I say, you're hitting a heavier ball with this, you're not missing as much. And he can tell me like, okay, this one was much more difficult to play, and this one I had an easy ball where I could hit a sitter, So I think this way of testing has been very, eye-opening and good.
Yeah. The only change I would personally do if I was to play with this racket on a regular basis, I would place some lead maybe at 10 and 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because it's such a dense string pattern in the
upper hoop. Yeah.
In the upper hoop. So I would need just a little tad extra mass up there. But apart from that, I mean, it feels like a production-ready racket.
Yeah, I was shocked. Like the first time I tried it, obviously when you've been in this game for a long time with gear and products and stuff, you know that even the biggest manufacturers can screw launches up. Like at least in your own expectation. And when you're a new manufacturer and you're trying something new, like you can technically go to a factory and buy a ready-made mold of a pro staff or something, and you release it as your brand. But this is something new, so that's where you're starting to be like, okay, how can it be good? Because it's like you need time to reiterate. But what I know from the guy behind Nordicdots is that it's like he puts so much effort into every product, like with clothes and everything. So I can see how he manages to really tweak it into actually a very highly playable racket.
Yeah, and you feel since the flex rating is pretty low, it feels also like it's a pro stock racket.
Yeah, it has that.
Yeah, it has that
steam-like, you know, where you feel the crisp stiffness.
Yeah.
There's a stiffness, so you get power on the ball, but you still feel the ball pocket in the string. And this is what most, I think, pros want from a racket, or players really that are picky, is that you want power, but you also want the ball to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want the ball to just bop up. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like the materials in the racket is very high end.
Yeah.
It's the graphite is it must be very high grade graphite, because the quality feels amazing. It was no squeaking from the butt cups or anything.
No,
like
no,
that.
not like, yeah, because you can get rackets, of course, even from the big manufacturers, where things like butt cap, the cosmetic, something looks a little bit like it was rushed from the production line. And even though these were the prototypes that will be released with full grommets, it looked just like ready to go from the get-go, you know?
Yeah. The only real downside for me personally was that the butt cap had very little flare.
Yeah.
It was almost like old style Yonex butt cap.
Yeah, the grip shape is kind of Yonex-ish, somewhere between Yonex and Babolat. Maybe it just feels good. I didn't really struggle with the grip shape in any way. Right? Sometimes you can, but
yeah, the grip shape is for us it's perfect.
Yep.
But I would like some more flair. I would like a bigger, like a Babolat style.
You would have to build it up, you know, with some tape or something to get that flare.
Not like Gasquet or
Café,
but just a little bit more flair.
Yeah, there's always things you can tweak, and most of the things you can tweak yourself. But as a racket, as a platform of a racket, this one is very solid, very good. I think a lot of players will enjoy this. I would say it's made more for the modern player, like more for the guys that hit with good racket head speed and some topspin on their shots. Like if you're hitting flat, like there's a risk that the ball will go a bit too much, I would say, with the isometric style head shape and the morph beam style, you know. But if you're hitting with spin and you're able to generate some racket head speed, it produces very, very good balls. And I've talked to some ex-ATP pros like Andrei Kuznetsov and guys who tried it, and they're really happy with it and could actually go and play with it. So that's also a good sign that some really serious players have tried it as well. Yeah,
for me in my game, this is a racket that could work without any problems in matches. Yeah, then you have some nerves, etc. in matches where you may be a little bit, the racket might not work. So I have not tried it in matches yet, but just from playing like practice matches with you, it feels like I produce a really heavy ball. I played with former top 10 ATP player Magnus Gustafsson today.
Yep.
And I think we have some footage of it as well.
Yep, we'll be there.
And the racket felt really solid even against such a great player.
Yeah, who creates always like a heavy ball. Like every shot he will play will have some quality to it. It won't be like a thud ball or like a loose. No, he will play quality balls only. So you really feel like the racket is a lot more solid than the 325 strung swing weight it has. I tried it with different strings. I think that the top spin Nordicdots string was the one I liked the most in the racket. I felt like though they complemented each other very well, and you don't have to go very high intention. I think 22 kilos was like 49 pounds-ish.
We strung it up with the top spin string at 22 kilos. Yeah.
So that worked really well. And cosmetic, you can go either black or this is called Storm Gray, I think. Storm Gray. Up to you. They both look super clean. Like if you like black rackets, then you have the option. If you want to have a racket that is not very common in terms of cosmetic, but not like wildly extreme in terms of colors, because sometimes you see this like it's very yellow, very red. This is like two clean colors, two classic colors, I would say.
Yeah, it's just clean. It's like their clothing line.
Classic products. So thumbs up for me. I really like this racket. I played a lot with it. Over a long time. I tried several prototypes in this process before I gave the feedback what I liked, you know, and I think the 65 RA stiffness is kind of perfect. It gives you some power, but it's still controlled. So I would say if you like the ISO 98, you know, but you might want a bit more connected feel or a little bit more of a pocketing in the string bed, I think this one could be very good. It kind of lands in between. He's on 198.
Yeah.
But the power level is decent, but it's not going to be like a monster weapon in terms of power. It feels like a controlled modern racket.
Yeah, a very good all-round racket. It has something for everyone.
Yeah. Power level maybe to like a speed MP or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Speed MP-ish, I would say.
Should be a pretty decent target group. Obviously, as a small brand, you cannot maybe have the budget to sponsor players, which makes it a bit more tricky to get through, but they do deserve some recognition because this is a quality racket. So that's really a thumbs up for me. And I will keep playing with it, and I really enjoy hitting with it. We'll see if it's a switcheroo for any of us crazy people here who we're testing new rackets and switching rackets all the time. But it definitely has enough quality that I could just take it into a match and try it 100%.
Yeah, me too. So I hope I can keep one of the prototypes.
It has to be nice to me. So 2 thumbs up, Nordicdots racket. If you can try it, you should. I really think it's a great feeling, well-playing racket that will suit quite a few players. But obviously, like maybe not the most flat hitters with short swings. It's a little bit more demanding than that.
Yeah.
But it's a good stick if you like these kind of more modern power control balance rackets. Have a nice day now, and don't forget
to play some tennis.